Welcome to Frome FM Soundcheck on 96.6 FM, online at frome.fm and on Facebook Live. Tonight in the studio, on the set in the studio with us, we have Jon Pickard. Hello, Jon. The Harp Guitar.
Yeah.
That's the correct term for it.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to describe it a little more for the benefit of those who are on the radio rather than on Facebook Live. 23 strings. It's got a body rather like a conventional guitar, but with an extra bit leading towards the end with the tuning pegs. Mm-hmm. You've got 7 strings, which are harp strings. They have no fretboard.
The lowest string on the guitar section is normally an E in normal tuning, isn't it? Yeah. So the first string below that in pitch is the sub basses. Yeah. It was a D, so it goes D, C, B, A, G, F down to low E. So you've got an extra octave.
And then the other side, the 10 that are vertically below the fretboard.
Yeah. Again, they go up from E. So you take the E on the 12th fret on the guitar, on the first string, the octave E is the same as the first treble string.
Yeah.
So that's where you're starting from. And it goes up like the white notes on the piano, if you like.
Yeah.
In whatever scale you've got.
Okay. And just one quick question. You've got on the top, you've got these these keys here, which are just inside the below the tuning peg.
Sharpening levers. These are actually from harps. These are used on harps.
Right.
I've borrowed them from the harps, you know.
Right.
And they basically, like I say, if you need a G, this string is a G. And if you want a G sharp, you flick the lever.
Right, so
you've got
it
a G
just
sharp.
applies a little tension.
Yeah,
so you can lift it
up a semitone of a half step.
Okay.
Depending on the key you're playing in.
Okay, that's great. Because I've been watching you play it, like I say, I've got the best seat in the house by a long way here, sitting right next to you, watching you play it, because on occasion you're actually, it's entirely fingerpicking for obvious reasons, and on occasion using both hands to fingerpick.
Yeah. There's moments when you want to be up here on the high strings, and you just can't reach to the low strings, so you can actually kind of reach down over here.
Which, of course, with a conventional harp, you'd use both hands anyway. But,
exactly.
And how did you come to play one of these?
Well, I saw a video of a guy called Jason Carter playing the harp guitar. He's a modern guy, English guy, who plays harp guitar, and this was probably about 6 years ago or so. And it blew my mind, basically.
You saw one of these yourself on YouTube?
Yeah. And then I designed this one, actually. I decided what I want. I looked into it a little bit, and I decided what string configuration I wanted, and drew out the instrument. And then handed that design over to a maker to make for me, Stuart Mewburn. If you're listening, Stuart, thanks for making this wonderful guitar. A very challenging job for any luthier.
Right. Okay. Did he make many changes to your concept?
No. He was wonderful. He faithfully tried to make real the thing which I designed for it.
Okay. Right. And there's a long history to the harp guitar?
Yeah, they're actually, instruments like this anyway, harp guitars, they were actually around before the guitar in its history settled on to a 6-string format, really. So
so these are almost even older than the conventional model of the guitar itself?
Really, yeah. I mean, they were, you know how guitars evolved from lutes, you could say? Well, there are still today, if you like, harp lutes. Have you heard of a theorbo?
Yes.
Like a medieval instrument, a lute with extra bass strings. Very, very similar. And there were versions with extra treble strings as well, 500 years ago.
So, in fact, it's rather than the question of why a harp guitar, it's actually it's an evolution that led to the conventional.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think it got condensed down to 6 strings because it's simpler to play as 6 strings and it's cheaper and easier to build.
We've already explored the early history of the harp guitar, but in conversation with you, apparently there's been golden eras in. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, I mean, we mentioned the very early origins before, but there was a big flowering of harp guitar making around about sort of 1900s, 1910, 1920, 20 or 30 years, perhaps longer. Companies like Gibson even made a massive thing with just tons of strings. In America, there's a lot of things getting made in America.
Yeah. So it's not set at 23 strings?
No, they're all very different. This is the thing. It's a loose description. A harp guitar is a fretted instrument with a few extra strings. But how many extra strings is kind of it varies an awful lot. Okay,
right. But so there was this blossoming in late 19th, early 20th century.
Yeah. And the reason they were made at that point, apparently, is because they wanted louder guitars. This was before amplification, the days of amplification, of course. So to play in music halls and shows, you wanted a louder guitar because the guitar is quite a quiet instrument. So they built extra strings and bigger bodies, and they gave them more resonance and allowed the sound of the guitar to project more into the theatre. They didn't necessarily play them as articulately as players do today I gather, but I haven't heard many recordings.
Well, there wouldn't be many recordings of that either, would there?
So we're not really sure about that. But of the few recordings that I've seen, they're very much just strumming chords. But if you just strum chords on this, then the extra strings give a big resonance, so it does make it a louder, more resonant instrument.
Because obviously they're an octave. There you get resonance from it. Yeah. Okay.
And then, of course, electricity came along, amplification came along, and you didn't need to build such complicated instruments. You just plug it in and turn up the volume. So they kind of died a death after that and stopped being built.
So that would make sense, because it was 1930s that electric recording came about as well, wasn't it? So,
yeah, exactly. So,
yeah. Okay. And what happened to these hundreds of Harp guitars?
Yeah, well, they became obsolete for that time period, and they got forgotten about, and they sort of reappeared. Everyone stopped playing them, as far as we can tell, and then they kind of reappeared. People would find them in grandfather's loft when you're going out to clear the house after the passing away of the grandfather. In fact, Stephen Bennett, that's the story about him. I mean, apparently his grandfather passed away, and it was they were clearing out the house, and he went up into the loft and found this strange-looking instrument in a case up in the loft. Took it out and thought, wow. Yeah,
what's this then?
Yeah, let's have a go at this. And stick some strings on it. Write your own rule book, because there's no rights and wrongs. Tune it however you feel like doing it, and just get started and have some fun. And there's more interesting.
That would be 50 years after after they sort of disappeared.
Yeah.
So you've played you played 7 songs, I think, for us tonight.
Yeah.
5 of which you've written yourself.
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
right. Yeah.
What's the plan?
Well, obviously there's an album on the way, so I've got.
I was rather hoping to be saying that.
Yeah, and I'm halfway through recording that at the moment. So I've got 3 or 4 tracks recorded at the moment.
Okay.
So I need to write a few more tracks. Looking at a few other bits of instrumentation, add some percussion, maybe the odd few strange instruments here and there to add to complement the album a little bit, and hopefully get that out fairly soon, and then play concerts and radio stations.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Well, it's been wonderful having you on Frome FM Soundcheck.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great experience for me.
No, it's been fascinating sitting here watching you as well as listening to you. So thank you. Everybody, that was Jon Pickard on Frome FM Soundcheck, 96.6 FM, and online and on Facebook Live.